What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content with your boy Chris Kane. Let's talk about the Dolphins. We did a bunch of coverage about the trade deadline, who was going to go, who wasn't going to go, and I listed, I think, 5 or 6 players who you should keep your eye out for. Someone I did not mention was Zach Sealer, who I just I thought he was fine. Like he just got a contract extension. He was great the last couple of years. He's a mainstay on the defense. Not having a great year, admittedly, but fine. He's one of our guys. Evidently, there are many teams during the deadline who were calling the Dolphins about Zach, and the Dolphins weren't. They rebuffed the offers not because Zach was untouchable. They were saying we want a high day 2 pick. If you give us a high day 2 pick, this is second, third round basically, then we'll consider letting him go. I did not think Zach was even remotely offered to be traded. We just got Kenneth Grant, who's trying to learn how to do the job. He's next to Zach, who's been doing the job. They have to learn how to make that tandem work because we've been awful against the run. We've been bad in the middle of our defense. The idea that, you know, I'm guessing they asked for a second round pick, or they said high day 2, but possibly a really high day third round pick would have done it. I didn't realize that that was even a thing. Now, no one went that high with the draft, which makes sense because now Zach has a contract extension. So if you would have given the Dolphins, say, a third round pick, you then got to play Zach his 20 plus million a year going forward. And that's the thing where it's like maybe that's not worth it. Now, had Zach been in the last year of his deal the way Jalen Phillips was, I do think somebody may have gone to a third round pick because Zach, the last 2 years, has gotten 10.5 sacks a year. I mean, that's high level defensive tackle production. That's top 10 in the league. D tackle production for sacks. That's awesome. But do I want to give up that pick and then all that money? Ugh, that's a tough one. So in a weird way, had the Dolphins not given Zach an extension this offseason, I I could have seen a scenario where he would have been traded a couple of days ago. But because we did, he's most likely going to be a mainstay. And I think the asking price is not unreasonable. A second round pick's unreasonable. I like Zach. I don't know. I wouldn't give up a second round pick for him. I think a low third, high fourth, if you want to take on a contract, I could see how that would have worked out. But I did not know people were calling around asking about Zach. I didn't know we had made Zach back channelly available. But those trades got shot down. I don't know how this is going to work out with Zach like going forward because next trade deadline next year or possibly in the offseason, is that something we're trying to move on from? Because we don't have a replacement for Zach. We don't have other D tackles that we feel really good about. We just gave our first overall pick to a D tackle position who we don't know if he's going to be good or not. So I don't think we've seen enough to be like, oh, we can move off Zach. But maybe they regret the contract. Who knows what the future holds? We got a lot of things happening right now. But just to keep you on the loop, Zach Sealer could have been traded. There's been a lot of talk about Tua. Some of it's here, some everywhere else. And I think it's all valid that Tua's job is kind of on the line. Not this week. I don't believe next week either. I think 3 weeks from now, there's a possibility that could be the case. Coach McDaniel's done a good job of being like, nah, not considering it. Get that nonsense out of here. But Tua can't keep playing this way with no consequence. Y'all have seen it. It doesn't matter if you're being paid a lot of money. You can still get benched. Russell Wilson got his job after they paid money to, was it Matt Flynn? Unreasonably so, because he played 2 games with Green Bay and they gave him a big contract. Regardless, they gave Flynn a contract, drafted Russell Wilson and said, you know what? That guy's better. Get out. That happens. Dak Prescott came in. Tony Romo was already getting paid. Dak came in. They're like, I know Romo's hurt, but this Dak kid's pretty good. Romo was out of there. It can happen. Kyler Murray just got benched. Make no mistake about it. I'm not saying Kyler's not hurt at all. What I was seeing from my research and reporting, even if Kyler was healthy, he wasn't going to be playing over Jacoby, which is crazy. Jacoby's been in the league more than a decade, and that offense is simply better with him playing. Kyler Murray already has a contract. 46, 47 million a year. He's already out in contract, getting paid a boatload of money. They said it doesn't matter. You're not good for this team right now. So they put Jacoby in. I'm not going to lie to you. I scooped Jacoby in my fantasy league, and he balled. I won this week because of Jacoby. Shout out to Jacoby. So when Tua's like, I'm not playing for my job, I don't I don't fully believe it because it's not. There's precedent for people being paid a bunch of money, and if someone else showing up or you getting hurt and someone filling in and being like, "Hey, dog, we don't need those services anymore." Yes, it's bad for the team. I mentioned the Broncos a couple times about Russell Wilson getting paid all this money. They just started over and they look fine. So here's what he said exactly, and it's a long one, so bear with us as we transition. He said, I wouldn't say I'm playing to keep my job. I think I'm playing to keep our team win every time. I think that's the objective for every quarterback that is playing, for every football player that's playing as well. The objective is, how can I help my team win games? If you're looking at it in that sense, I would say my performance needs to be better. My performance doesn't reflect me trying to keep my job because that's not the standard that I've been playing all of these other years. That's a cyclical kind of conversation because the idea is that if you play well, you will keep your job. If you don't play well, you don't keep your job. That's what the NFL has been forever. You don't get to keep being bad at your job, and then we just get. Deshaun Watson got a fully guaranteed contract, and they said, "Hey, man, you can't keep playing quarterback here." Yes, he's on the roster still. They got some things to work out, but it's a thing. You being paid money doesn't guarantee you keep playing time. You being good in the past doesn't guarantee you playing time. That's not how this stuff works. Sometimes guys show. Daniel Jones was bad most of his career. Anthony Richardson was a top 5 pick. They put them side by side and said, this top 5 pick has not got paid real money yet. He's still on his rookie deal. Or we're going to sign free agent Daniel Jones, who's shown us not that good of a player, and said, you know what? Going with Daniel Jones. And guess what? He's outplayed Anthony Richardson so much that Shane Steichen is going to keep his job and might win Coach of the Year. Steichen was on a chopping block because he couldn't get the most out of Anthony Richardson, who had all the ability in the world and couldn't harness it. He could throw the ball slipping in the pocket 65 yards in the air, flat-footed. Beautiful. Cannot complete a slant to save his life. Can run a linebacker over, run for 100 yards. He was the trainee pick in all the fantasy leagues. And then Daniel Jones came in and just ran the offense. Daniel Jones can run a little bit. He's definitely more mobile than some. He's not Anthony Richardson. He just runs the offense. You tell me listen, I'm not a Zach Wilson guy. Y'all know this. I've been 10 toes anti-Zach Wilson. But can Zach Wilson not throw 11 picks, but possibly throw the ball deeper downfield because his arm is better? Maybe. Maybe. Can Quinn Ewers play with a maybe reduced offense, but execute that well and move a little bit better in the pocket and not have concussion issues? Yeah. So I understand too is this is not the standard I hold for myself, but ultimately what you put on the field is the standard. And for the last, I don't know, maybe even parts of last year, Tua wasn't great. He was better than the quarterbacks we had, so I think we elevated how good he was playing, but he wasn't playing elite the second half of last year either, and he's been bad this year. We have a lot of bad tape on Tua. We're going back to 2023 to talk about good Tua. It's been years. So he can say it's not a standard. I'm not playing for my job. I think either he's lying to himself or he's got blinders on. I'm Alabama Tua, which is my favorite version of Tua. But that's not the game anymore. And if we had a backup quarterback that we kind of trusted, and I don't think we trust either of our backup quarterbacks, which is why Tua is playing so much. If we trusted either of our backup quarterbacks at all, I think there would already be some split carries. There would already be some split snaps. There would already be conversations about, hey, if Tyrod Taylor was the backup for the Dolphins, I think fans would be saying, let's just see what Tyrod got. If Joe Flacco was the backup, I think he would already be in the game. That's what I'm saying. And Flacco throws picks too. But he also throws for 450 yards with an AC joint sprain. Crazy. The bottom line is Tua's playing for his job, just not this week. So the Dolphins have to replace Jalen Phillips' production and just his position at the moment. I think Quentin Bell is going to fill in at some point, but the Dolphins went out and signed Andre Carter II off of Detroit's practice squad. I will say, this Andre Carter is not related to the Andre Carter that was an assistant coach for the Dolphins. So if you thought there was a Dolphin connection, nope. Not that way. He has a champ connection from his time at the Raiders, but that's probably why he got signed. But not related at all to the former Andre Carter for the Dolphins. I will say this: I don't know what to make of this. Andre Carter's played in 15 games. He has a half a sack, and basically all the rest of his snaps are at special teams. He has not been someone to be impactful. He was undrafted. Um, like, I, he's got size. He's got long arms. He's actually built kind of like Max Crosby in terms of like how his body is set up. He's not nearly as physical or sudden or just elite as Max Crosby is. But if you want to like make an approximation, he's like a great value Max Crosby, which is, I think Max Crosby's the man. So Max is fantastic. Maybe Andre at his highest level could approximate what a Max Crosby is. He has some skills. His hands aren't great, meaning at the point of attack, his hands aren't great. He's shown he could be explosive, but he also has not shown he could start. He's never started in the NFL, so that's a thing. Going undrafted, another thing. But he's cheap, you know, and he has some physical skills that can be developed. I don't know how many minutes he gets. I imagine he'll just be a rotational piece. It's like a lottery ticket. You scratch it, you maybe he turns out being a good player, maybe not. But don't think we just got like some legitimate diamond in the rough. This might be a gem. It's gonna take some polishing. All right, just put it in the water a little bit. Like this might take a season or two to get the most out of him. But if he flashes, he could be a really good special teams guy in the meantime. But I don't expect Jalen Phillips level production. There's a reason he was on the practice squad. He's at this point not someone to take super seriously. As always, can't do a Dolphins show without talking about injuries, and we got a few. And the two big ones are Chop Robinson being out and Rasul Douglas. Rasul has a foot injury, which is obviously tough for a cornerback. Chop has a concussion that he's dealing with, and he hasn't been cleared yet. We don't know if either are going to play on Sunday. And against Buffalo, I know Rasul wants to play. That's his former team. You know he wants revenge. We get that. He's been playing pretty well this year. I'm shocked he didn't get traded to somebody because Rasul's been really good. Chop, y'all know I've been down on Chop all year. He has not flashed to me basically the entire season. But you got to get after Josh Allen. And if Chop is out, that's one less guy to get at Josh Allen. We already traded Jalen Phillips, which means it's Bradley Chubb and Matthew Judon basically and Cameron to try to like create a pass rush. Don't love that. Josh Allen with time wins. Period. And if we don't get at Josh and make him uncomfortable, he's just going to hold the ball and just pat it, and then pick apart our secondary. If you blitz him and don't get to him, which we've done a lot of, then he's going to hit. It's just not a good formula to not have a good pass rush. I don't know when. I guess Chop has until Friday, I would think. Maybe Saturday to get clear for his concussion, but it's at this point not looking great. Rasul, could play through it. He didn't practice today, so maybe he could play through it. You don't get a chance at revenge games like this that often. So I think if he can play, he will. I'm concerned that he won't be at his best self. And so if he does play, he'll be playing as a diminished version of himself to just try to get back at Buffalo. And they're going to have him guarding Shakir, who basically only runs crossing routes, which is annoying. So DBs get caught up in the mesh of middle linebackers and all the flow of traffic. And then all of a sudden, Shakir gets out the back end and is catching a 4-yard pass and they're running another 30 yards. It's frustrating. So we will see what happens. We'll check in with his injury report. If he doesn't play, then Ethan Bonner will step in his place, and Ethan Bonner is not as good as Rasul Douglas has been this year, but he's been serviceable. We're playing Josh Allen. We need all hands on deck. Serviceable, that ain't gonna get it. We need somebody to make an impact, somebody to make plays. Jalen Phillips actually usually played well against Buffalo, like he would at least cause some havoc. I am knocking on wood and really hoping that Judon and Chubb make a big impact. Judon really hasn't done much this year. Chubb has been pretty good. This is a game where we need them to really shine. Buffalo's offensive line, y'all know, I think is really good. Even though they're not as good as they've been before, they give Josh time. He typically has a nice pocket. And if we're blitzing all night to try to get after him, it's just a matter of time before we have one of our many backups in the secondary who are just out on the island and Josh has time to just pat the rock and make a throw. I'm getting ahead of myself. Hopefully these two guys play on Sunday. We will follow this story as the week progresses. But as always, y'all, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate the love and support. Thank y'all for the likes and the subscribes. We'll see you next time on Dolphins Daily. Peace.